You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show. Yes, you're listening to the Finnish Football Show. I'm Mark Wiltshire, and we've got a full team today. So I'm joined by Keke Mark. Hi, Keke.
Moi.
By Mark Hayton. Hi, Mark.
Moi.
And by Rich Nelson. Hi, Rich.
Bonjour.
And we're coming back to you just after the Tournoi competition that the Finnish women's team, the Helmarit, have been playing over there in France. And we're going to look back. Keke and Rich got together last week and previewed the competition, and now we've had the 3 games, so we thought we'd all get together and look back at how those 3 results went. But I think before we get started, I just wanted to give a little shout out to a couple of people. The first one is Tim. I'm going to record a little message for Tim, especially. Tim, stop speeding up podcasts. Why would anyone listen to this at 1.85 speed? It must be like listening to Alvin and the Chipmunks. But also to Keith, and this is the Keith that I think Rich, you and Keke maybe have met over in the UK, who told me on Tuesday that he didn't realise this competition was on, and then listened to the preview show just before Brazil game started. So our listeners, they really need to sharpen up a little bit and make sure they're here in time. We're doing this for you people, so make sure you're with us on time. Let's get on with the football. Enough of that nonsense. There were 3 games in 6 days, and it started with, I guess, the big one away. They're all away, but against France in their home territory. Let's just go. Let's not talk about what we were expecting. If you want to know what we were expecting, you can go back to the previous episode and listen to that to hear the preview. But Keke, kick us off. How did that France game pan out?
Well, we knew it was going to be tough from the start. France, they're a powerhouse of the women's game at the moment. It's as you said, their own backyard, their own party, their own tournament, and we had hopes of being party poopers, but it didn't quite turn out like that, unfortunately. I mean, from the first minute, I was sitting there. Finland sort of kicked off, and Evelina Summanen put in a lovely diagonal ball over to Emma Koivisto on the left, and in the first few seconds, we found ourselves in the France box. I'm thinking, here we go. But yeah, it didn't stay like that, unfortunately. I mean, we were chatting about it within the group and going through our little minute by minute as we do sometimes. But yeah, the long and the short of it was they give us a bit of a schooling, really, as they turned on. They put out a really strong side, France, and they turned it on. Unfortunately, there was a few individual errors. I think poor Anna Westerlund scored an own goal on a record-breaking 138th appearance. I don't think they let that dampen the celebrations too much. They did manage to celebrate Anna's milestone, but yeah, I don't think anyone would have been happy with the result. Ultimately, a 5-0 loss is not something to be to taken lightly. But yeah, the head coach Anna Signoel, she was positive afterwards. She said we had to take the positives, and I think that's all you can do.
It didn't get off to the best start because they played the wrong national anthem. I don't know what. Did any of you get to the bottom of what they'd actually played? Because
it was the Albanian national anthem.
But Albania weren't even playing Le Tournoi. It's not an easy mistake.
I think they obviously cancelled their Spotify, so they went on the free one, and where it just shuffles everything.
But yeah, it was brilliant. As they panned across the players, it was brilliant. Linda Soundstrom just sort of put her arms up like that and started looking around. It was brilliant.
Shrugging shoulders like, what is this? Yeah. And I was doing the same thing here. And the rest of the house came and sort of like, that's not our anthem. What's going on? But it kind of was quite early on that the goals started coming in, and I think as much as an own goal is an own goal, that can happen. But that was on the 12th minute, and then on the 16th minute there was a unchallenged header inside the 6-yard box for the second goal, and also in the 33rd minute another unchallenged header. It was almost like a bit too easy with Mark.
Yeah, we struggled a lot from set pieces. I think that their movement, the French, their movement was really, really good. I mean, the first goal, the Westerland own goal, that happens. There's a cross coming into the near post, and we've just got to try and get something on it. And she sliced it into the top corner as the keeper was coming out. So it's understandable. But for the second two, they were both kind of really poor. I mean, the runs weren't. They weren't too dangerous, they weren't too slippy, but they lost the runners, and like you said, it was a free header for both of them. So that was probably even worse than the own goal.
It came in at half time, France 3, Finland 3, and I made a kind of a few sentences rather than doing lots.
And then 3-0.
3-3.
What did I say? Sorry, 3-0.
We'd have taken that.
Any day.
All right, so we came in at 3-0, and I wrote that there was a lot of pressure from France in the first half. Finland were trying to play the ball out, but just couldn't really string more than a couple of passes together. And whenever the ball did get up front, it just didn't stick and was coming back. I've watched enough football like that this season. Watching Wimbledon on the TV, I recognise the problems there.
I don't know if you saw the speaking of own goals and being 3-0 down at half time, the New Zealand player Michaela Moore scored a perfect hat-trick of own goals for her country against the USA and then got subbed off at half time. It could have been a lot worse.
I was thinking that Anna Westerlund didn't have that quite ignominy.
I mean, after that unfortunate first goal, the girls didn't let their heads drop. They went straight back out there, and there was little bits of optimism. I mean, Emma Koivisto again was getting a little bit of joy down the left, but ultimately France's better qualities sort of shone through. There was also some nice passages of play in the second half. Ria Erling was doing her best to sort of create something, and had a couple of little nice interpasses with Jenny Danielsson, but yeah, it was a task too far, I think. And then the fourth goal that came in the second half, what was it? It was Ellie Pikkuljam. So she sort of gave Tinny a back pass. It got sort of stuck under Tinny's feet. She tried to give it back, and the rebound was closed down straight away by the French player, and she sort of slotted it into a pretty much open net, and that was 4-0. But their heads didn't drop. You couldn't see it physically happening. You know what I mean? It was just France were the better side. It wasn't sort of a lack of effort or anything.
No, and that 5-0 scoreline was finished right at the end, in the 89th minute. A France corner, and it wasn't so much an unchallenged or a free header, but the forward Reynard kind of wriggled away, is how I wrote it down, and got a header in from close range. One
of the best players in one of the best teams in the world in the 89th minute, and you're 4-0 down. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you don't like to draw too many comparisons to the men's side, but it reminded me quite a lot about when Rive shifted to the kind of the back three or back five part, from the 4-4-2. And what we did then was it was quite frustrating for fans because we kept the ball a lot more, but we had a lot fewer sort of chances created. And I think that was one of the interesting things, is that throughout the game, they still, like the Helmarit, still kind of specifically tried to play out from the back, specifically tried to keep the passes short and keep the ball moving. They didn't quite move it quick enough, but I think that's sort of, it was an endearing element to it because they did stick to their plan, and I think the games after that sort of showed that it's probably the right way to do it, because they were actually again playing proper football against a big team.
How were you feeling, Rich, heading into the Finland Netherlands game, which was on Saturday? I didn't see a lot of the game because I was doing some serious parenting on Saturday night. I had to do a bit of dad cabs driving my daughter around, and then late in the second half, the dog decided to be violently ill all over the house. So I have to bail out and bow to your superior knowledge. But how was it from your perspective, Rich?
I mean, I can't compare my day with that. I mean, I admittedly only had one eye on the game, and it was 10 changes, I think it was, from the first match. Our friend Paula was in goal and skipper in the side. Again, it's difficult when you go from France to Holland or Netherlands, one of the best teams in the world, just as good. And it was, again, it was quite one-sided. I think the goals came, I think the couple came in almost like every time I looked away from the screen, there was a goal going in. And it was, I mean, there was, you know, I think there was a combination in the second half of Paula made some really good saves, and then the team just kept giving away possession a little bit too much in their own third. And again, trying to play out from the back, which is a great tactic to use, but you need confidence. And when you're playing a team that much better, then it is quite an uphill struggle. And I mean, again, they stuck to it, and it was impressive. And we'll soon see when we come to the third game. But it was, again, a not quite as chastening. You know, 3-0 was a bit more flattering, but it was still very much a kind of a schooling of sorts, but good preparation for the summer again. But yeah, it was 10 changes. You know, again, this is a friendly tournament or a preparatory tournament for the summer, so it's nice that a lot of the fringe players got a cap. They got to play against a proper European power, because the problem is when you play in these qualifying tournaments, you might have one, maybe two teams better. And to be honest, I'd argue Finland and France and the Netherlands are probably better than Sweden. And you know, Sweden are the benchmark for Finland at the moment in their qualifying group. So it's tough, but yeah, I mean, with all the changes, it was expected, but you know, it was closer.
It was a bit of a shame you mentioned Paula there, but the first Netherlands goal came from a cross from Finland's left side, and it was played across the ball, and Paula dived and it sort of squirmed under her arm or under her hand, and was tapped into an empty net, which is a bit of a shame. Who's there? Who's got something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you guys, from the kickoff against Netherlands, I saw I do believe there was a marked improvement in the intensity, also in the aggression. It was almost like, obviously France didn't take Finland by surprise, but I don't know if the whole group or the whole camp would have thought, you know, this is a friendly tournament, there's not going to be sort of elbows out and any of that, but obviously the France game made them realise that's exactly what they were in for. So there was a marked improvement in the intensity and in the aggression for the Netherlands game. Something else that I noticed as well, like you guys have mentioned Paula, but there was I don't know if it's because where the microphones are situated on the pitch, but you could really hear her sort of going for it, commanding her defence, and whenever the ball come anywhere near her, she was hollering her name out to sort of claim it. So yeah, it was an improvement, I think. As you said, few changes. Amanda Rantanen as well up front, sort of absolutely ran her socks off. That typical sort of when you're playing an opposition that's a little bit higher quality than you, the forward doesn't really get much joy doing what they want to do, which is banging in goals. But they're the sort of the first line of defence, trying to close down and all that. So, you know, kudos to Amanda Rantanen for doing that all game. She sort of ran her socks off trying to close the Netherlands players down up top. But
I wonder if it's because there were the 10 different players that wanted to prove a point as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I honestly think it's come from the management team. I think Anna Signal sort of said to them, you know, we need to be a bit more aggressive. So yeah, they went out there and they certainly was that. So yeah, fair play to them.
That second Netherlands goal was really lovely. There was some good wing play again down Finland's left, Holland's right. nice cross into the centre of the penalty box and a really strong header just directing it down into the bottom corner. It was not going to stop that. But that was, I did get to half time, and then that was pretty much the end of the game for me. I said I made very, very similar notes to what you just said, Keke. I thought Rantanen did work hard, but was kind of quite isolated up front. Again, maybe like the first game where the ball went up, but nothing much came back.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of the game, Jenny Danielsson came on again, and there was a couple of. I mean, the game was over by then, really at 3-0. But yeah, last sort of 5 or 10 minutes, couple of chances for Finland up there with Danielsson. But yeah, ultimately couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, I think we'll go on to talk about the Brazil game. But looking back on the 3 games, I think we've seen a bit of progression across the camp,
Yeah, let's move on to that Brazil game then. Rich, what were your thoughts on the Brazil game? Beforehand, I was a little bit nervous because it'd been a couple of tough games, but it didn't quite pan out how I might have feared.
It was really competitive. It didn't feel like a friendly. From the edited highlights, but they really did get stuck in there. They were organised. Everything looked like it was a lot more the kind of game that they were looking to play. The setup was there, and I think maybe, again, without going to stereotypes, playing a non-European team may have suited them a bit better in the way that Brazil set up. But then you think Brazil had Marta, 6-time player of the year in their team and everything. So still a good pedigree, but they looked, just the confidence was there. They looked that mental side that's hard to quantify. It looked like it was there, and it didn't look like they'd shipped 8 goals in 2 games going into that.
No, that's true. And from the very, very beginning, Finland were bright and were they had the ball, they were passing the ball, they were progressing forward, and a good run and shot from, I think it was from Sani Franci right in the 6th minute, and it was like, hello, that's perhaps more than had been achieved in the previous 2 games. Mark, did you get to see the Brazil game?
Yeah, I did, and like Rich said, it was a more dogged affair, far more combative. I thought the good thing about Brazil is, I mean, Marta, world-class player, but they don't press as high up as France or as Holland. So the back 4 had a little bit more time on the ball, which allowed them to build the game. Yeah, the shot in the 6th minute was a good eye opener. I also thought Linda Sahlström was fantastic, particularly when she got in the channels, like down the flank. She had a fantastic one-on-one battle, like particularly down the left, and muscled around. I think it was 10 or 12 minutes that she had the cutback. You know what I mean? And we had that one sort of glaring chance, but it would just, the ball was just a little bit behind the striker, so we couldn't capitalize. But it was a really good, strong performance, a lot of good individual battles, and I thought we did really well.
Yeah, there was another chance for Brazil in the 18th minute where a cross came in from the right. And Tinney kind of got hands to it, but pushed it into the centre of the box. It was like, oh no, the forward's bearing down on goal, and the shot came in, and Anna Westerlund kind of threw herself at it and headed it away from the line, and it was all of those things went our way.
Redemption.
Yeah. No, that's it. The sort of lucky breaks, or the where the ball wants to fall for you in those sort of situations. We got a bit more of that in the Brazil game, so it was nice after having our fair portion of bad luck for the other 2 games. But Westerlund was absolutely immense. Eli Pikku-Jämsä, again, special mention to her. She had a fantastic game, not only in defence but also creeping forward, finding space. I mean, she must have covered some distance in that game. She was up and down the wing like no one's business. It was really good, and she's actually come out of the Tournoi as being voted Helmarit player of the camp, player of the tournament. So well done to her. I mean, I think she's only 22, isn't she, Eli Pikku-Jämsä? But yeah, great game against Brazil, as I say, in defence and going forward. Ria Erling again had some decent touches, and it was I suppose you could say that it could have gone either way. Brazil weren't shy in coming forward. They had their moments, and as you say, guys, like Marta was trying to pull the strings, and every time we sort of give away a free kick in sort of near the 18-yard box, I'm thinking, oh, here we go. But yeah, no, the girls did well. Could have had their own chances to nick it, but I think on reflection, nothing each is probably a fair result out of that game. But yeah, coming out of a game against Brazil with a draw, I think the girls can hold their heads up high.
I noticed also that Emma Koivisto was playing more in midfield in this. I mean, when you saw the team sheet, it was showing her as a 4-4-2, and she was playing sort of in left midfield, which I don't know. Have we seen that before? She had Big Yamsa behind her. That seemed not necessarily defensive because Emma gets forward quite a bit. It seemed different. I was interested to see that.
Yeah, well, she's quite versatile, is Emma. You know, she can play on both sides in defence and further forward. So you know, we've all seen she's popped up with some goals for Brighton this season. So she's not shy of getting forward and popping one in the net. So yeah, I mean, she's I suppose what do you call it, wing back or whatever? But you know, in a 4-4-2, it's a little bit different, isn't it? But yeah, she's no stranger to being played a bit further forward.
There was one thing that I remember sort of exclaiming out loud to whoever would listen to me at the time, but quite late in the game, there was Finland were playing a really high press. There was at one stage where there was like a line of 4 of them hunting as a pack on the edge of the Brazil penalty box, and that was quite something to see as well. Like it wasn't like we're not settling for this 0-0. We're gonna go hunting, and I wonder if we should just reflect a little bit on these 3 games as preparation for the Euros that are coming up, because it's a tough group in the Euros, and maybe this was really good preparation for Finland and working out how to deal with these stronger teams. I think Mark mentioned it before, being a bit more aggressive from the first game to the second, and then developing further still for the final game. And I would hope that gives them a lot of confidence and maybe a few tips on how to approach these games coming up in the Euros in the summer.
Well, you've got 5 weeks until the next round of World Cup qualifiers as well. Finland are away to Slovakia and home to Georgia in April. I think that's been played at the Bolt Arena. So it's that's a chance again to build on that. You know, the team have had 3 games against some of the toughest opposition you can find, and then coming, I'll say back down, but 2 again very important qualifiers. You know, they're really in a bit of a dogfight with Ireland to come second in that group, and the very convoluted playoffs there. And then I think those are the last 2 games, unless they arrange a couple more friendlies before the Euros in July. So again, Slovakia away, Georgia at home, you'd think be looking for at least 4 points from those games, possibly 6. But yeah, I mean, after that Brazil game, the confidence will be high. They've spent a good 10 days, 2 weeks together training, preparing for these 3 matches in France, and getting invaluable experience that you're not going to get against, no disrespect, I'm sure they're listening, Slovakia and Georgia.
The Slovakian football show is furious with you at the moment. And just to remind the listener that those 3 games in the Euros are Finland against Spain on the 8th of July, Denmark on the 12th of July, and Germany on the 16th of July, all played at Stadium MK Milton Keynes. Yeah. Anyone else got anything else to add at the end, or maybe we've done the review? We've been talking longer than we thought, which is always good.
Yeah, I mean, I just on the last point, I just want to say, it's from the various social media posts that have come out. I mean, the girls have been all smiles. It's great to see that they've enjoyed the camp. I mean, nobody likes getting beat, do they? Whether it's 1-0, 2-0, or if shipped a few more. But they didn't let their heads drop. They didn't let those couple of early results ruin the whole camp. And as we say, they've made progress. They've had a bit of an insight of what they might be into come the summer, and they've got some ideas about what they need to work on and to up the intensity a bit. So all in all, I think it was a decent experience.
Yeah, same thing. I think they're far better prepared than they would have been going into it. So the intensity and then dealing with particularly the likes of France and Holland, the way that they pressed, I'd imagine the Spanish and Germans will be built or cut from a similar cloth in the tournament. So yeah, and at the end to finish it against the Brazilians with a dogged display, matching them yard for yard on the pitch. I think it's going to give them a lot of confidence and a lot of optimism going into the tournament.
I think on that positive note, we should maybe wrap it up for today. Thanks a lot, Mark. Thanks for joining us today. We hope to see you again soon.
Cheers.
Rich, thanks a lot.
Au revoir.
And Keke, good to see you. See you again soon.
Moira.
Thanks a lot, listener. Until the next episode of Finnish Football Show, goodbye. You have been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and on Instagram. See the links in the episode description below. You can also connect with the 4 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Keke Mark W. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.